Hello, and welcome to step 32. This is the final step in building the prime mover section, the tractor section of the M1070. As promised, we're going to go over the spare, putting that together, and then just doing the few things that are involved in this last step of 32. I want you to know that there will be a separate video as kind of an overview of what's been done that I will post after this. So this will be just strictly for this. So again, with the last step in 31 was to put the spare tire together. And it's just simply these two parts right here. And we'll fold back over. It's E42 and D11 go together, go inside the tire. Now, all the tires for the truck were built back in step 22. That when they were put on in step 31, if that makes any sense to you. But I just wanted to throw this together quick so that you could see what's involved. It's not that really that big a deal. Just clean up the parts, put them together like so. There will be a ridge on the inside, or a seam, but without having access to the real deal, I'm not sure if it's supposed to be there or not. I wanted to do a quick comparison. So there's the rim, and I don't know if you can see it, but here's the rim. And to be totally and completely honest, this just looks like a resin casting of these two pieces right here. However, as you might see here, the resin is like significantly smaller. I don't know if that's shrinkage or what. However, this rim goes on exactly right. So I'm not sure what was done in the process, but this is smaller in diameter of the rubber portion, but this is the exact same. And carefully, when you take the spare, what you'll notice on here is there's a little white spot like where a peg used to be. I don't know, it broke off when it was being used, but that's supposed to go into the hole that's underneath here. So it should be oriented right like that, but it slides right on. And the same thing with the resin tires. They just pop right on. So if you want to get this set of resin wheels, and this set of resin wheels that I was supplied came from Panzerart, they go right on, but the wheels are just a little bit smaller. If for whatever reason you don't like the rubber, or you think that the rubber ones are just a tad oversized, although honestly I don't think they are, that's an option for you. But they slide right on. There is a little bit of trimming that needs to be done on the wheel mounts. Right, there's just a little bit of flash here and there. So if you put the resin wheels on and you're like, oh, it's not quite going on right or whatever, check and make sure that there's no flash in these areas. And even this rear one with the I don't want to push too hard here, but even with the rear one with the peg in it, works just fine. And that would be a good point as well, is that all the wheels that come with the kit for the main wheels are exactly the same, like this setup right here. However, and this is again just to keep you in the know, on the chassis, this right here and this right here have pegs. So these are not going to just slide on super easy as is, but check the alignment. So there's that wheel there. See if I so, no, it won't let me. that may be a good limiting. It looks like that's a good limiting factor. You don't want to or have to remove that peg. You want to actually use that. Now, I'm not gluing anything on, so I'm eyeballing it here, but it seems to be correct. If it doesn't work, you can trim that peg down to get that to sit on closer, but it doesn't have the same brake detail and limiter on here that this does, so I think that's why that's there. All right, so last step is done. Wheels are explained. So what we have left to do is to attach the front bumper, part A4. I already cleaned it up. And that just goes right on the front, so you're gonna make sure that it's wider on top than bottom, and then slide it on. The two mounts come through, and then it's going on to the framing around here, down along the bottom, and down that side there. So that's how that gets set up. It's simple enough. Now, before I put this on, okay, should still be able to get down in there and paint. So I don't feel bad about putting this particular piece on. Just run around the sides with the glue. Slide it on like so. And that should be good. That should hold it on. So nothing to it. And then finally you have these clevises that are left over, or not left over, but are the last pieces to be put on. These are nipped off the sprue on this end. I mean, this is pretty typical for these clevises. And in fact, if I can find them, I bought a new pair, just a super cheap pair. No, I guess I don't have them available, of nippers. Let me see what I got over here. What's fun, if fun is the right word about them, is that they are super sharp, at least to begin with. Nope, can't find them. So I could probably have nipped these down right down to the surface. I'd still have to clean them up, but it might be a way to, well, I don't know if make it better is the right answer, but speed it up maybe. I don't know. These are pretty well molded on, these sprue attachment points, which is probably what's needed so that you can get these small parts actually to work. Now, I sometimes will just rock a sprue attachment back and forth if I think that that'll work. Clean that up. One done. These are nice little rings, clevises, attachment. Well, they're not an attachment point. They're basically for running chains through, and they're molded really nice. They've got a nice hole on the end for where the pin would nominally go through, and then you just take and put them on the front, and they just kind of snap right on. That's really nice, and they're movable if you want them to be, or you can put them in position you want. Now, the cool thing about it is, let's say you wanted to do something where you were doing a diorama or something and you want to chain it up. Well, you're going to have to run a scale chain through there, so you're going to have some amount of not straightforward for that. Or if you really want to be cute and you had this on an incline, those are going to move. Now, these things do get rusty if they sit on the front a lot, and sometimes they won't move. But the whole point is now you have that little bit of, I'm going to call it articulation, even though that might not be the right word, to where you can add that little bit more level of realism to the kit. You know, just not working. I'm going to use my old nippers. just to clean that up a little better, because this is kind of annoying. Sometimes the last part, or what should be the easiest part, ends up being the worst. And what I don't want to do is, I'm putting some pressure. I don't want to get pressure underneath the head there, pull it, and then break this, because that's kind of what it wants to do. It's a little, I think it's a little misleading, looks a little misleading, but essentially it's a pretty solid attachment. I mean, the way you see me messing with it, it's actually quite a bit more solid than that secondary, this little runoff piece. So, while I'm sitting here doing this, I think I'll reflect a little bit to start with. That's 32 steps, some of them rather involved, some of them actually not really that involved. And by the way, you can see I kind of clipped the bottom of this. These things do have a habit over time of the bottoms will flatten out, because they'll end up accidentally getting dragged somewhere, and so the road will road rash or grind them down. I would not have all of them like that, but if you have one that you want to look brand new, so it's got that nice, you know, kind of silvery metallic look to it, unpainted, brand spanking new, you're not going to want that. And if you have something that's, you know, old and beat up and rusty and that, you might want to add a little bit of a ding or a flat spot or something, because that'll give it that little bit of authenticity to its age. But just some kind of fun things to think about while you're building the model. The hardest part with this is if you're worried about seams, because there's a tiny, tiny one that runs down the center of this. You can sand it off. It's not going to be so easy with this. You're going to have to work at it to really clean it up. But that goes for just about anything you're going to get in a plastic kit that's got this level of detail, is this small. I mean, there's just some realities to it. So there are the 3 of those done. I'm not going to put them on, and in fact, I'm going to take the other one off for painting, because otherwise it's going to get in the way. It's going to get stuck. So they do come off. But yeah, 2 go on the front there, 2 go on the rear here. So again, that's the end of step 32. That is now the end of building the prime mover. So if you've made it this far, you know, hooray. This is in and of itself an entirely complete model right here. Even without the trailer, this is just as complicated as building any tank, armored car, rocket launcher, or artillery piece that I've ever worked with. See, it's going to be really satisfying when this thing is painted and built. I'm actually looking forward to building my own myself. So again, we'll go through a synopsis of the whole thing in the next video, and then we'll get started in the trailer. So thanks for joining me on this journey up through step 32, and I look forward to you joining me on the trailer.